Welcome to Daily Devo. I'm Pat. Today we're going to talk about the value of the number 2. Oh, I love the verse that we're going to look at today. I know that I often joke about my favorite stories in the Bible or my favorite verses, but this time, I mean it. If this isn't my favorite, it's got to be up there in the top 10. Look at Jonah chapter 3, verse 1. Then the Lord spoke to Jonah a second time. I love this verse. If you have your Bibles, you need to underline or highlight this verse or memorize this verse. Do you see the incredible hope in those simple words? A second time. Has God ever given you a second chance? Of course he has. If you forget everything else from this story about Jonah, you cannot miss the power of those first words in chapter 3. Then the Lord spoke to Jonah a second time. Those words are powerful reminders that God's grace always lifts up, that God's grace starts at the bottom and works toward the top, that God's grace will give us a second chance, that God's grace is the Father standing with tears in his eyes, with open arms as he runs toward his prodigal son who has finally made his way home. But this isn't just a reminder to what God has done for us in the past. You see, I get that most of us who are listening to this are basically good people. We go to church, we try to be good people, we try to do the right things. We most likely surrendered to God somewhere in our past, but perhaps we refuse to completely surrender to God in every area of our life. I'm not quite sure what that may look like for you, but I do know that God, through his Spirit, continues to speak to us, to grow, to mature us, to help us surrender another area of our life that maybe we've been holding on to. What I want us to remember today is that it's okay. Listen to him. Surrender to him. Let go of whatever he's asking you to give up, or grab on to whatever he's calling you to. Why? Because he's a good, patient, loving God. Let me read Jonah chapter 3, verse 1 again, only this time, interject your name. Then the Lord spoke to Patrick a second time. Treasure that truth.